went from my lowest weight ever to now, which is my highest weight I've ever weighed in my entire life. Okay, I'm excited. I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited. Hi cuties! Happy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whenever you are watching this. I am Leigh. If we haven't met already, if you aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe now and follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Leigh and Healey. I am so excited to be talking with you today because we are talking about the 7 reasons I am glad that I gained weight. If you don't know me, I have a crazy backstory of dieting, running, being a competitive bodybuilder. Yes, me. The like girliest girl like you've ever seen. I think it's something that's not talked about enough at all, if any reason of why gaining weight can be good and why losing weight can be bad. I did want to disclose a trigger warning at the top of this video, letting you know that we are going to be talking about body dysmorphia, eating disorders, and a lot of things relating to those topics. I'm going to put in the description time marks so that you know what to skip forward to should you know that you need to skip forward anything. With all that being said, I want to give you a little bit of background into me so you can know a little bit more of my fitness journey. Obviously, I think, not even obviously, like a lot of girls, I feel like this is something that started when I was young. Even in elementary school, I have memories of, my first ever memory actually of diet culture was when for Lent, you know, you have to give something up for 40 days. And I decided I was gonna give up all food except apples. Yeah, I was literally in like 3rd grade and I decided I only wanted to eat this one piece of fruit that literally traumatized me because my mom would always give it to me and told me I couldn't eat the rest of my meal until I ate my apple, which I know she was just trying to do to get me to eat like fruits and vegetables. But then I was like, oh, apples are the only good fruit, and therefore if I want to be good food, and therefore if I want to be skinny, I have to only eat apples, blah blah blah. That went through to high school, and in high school I was a cheerleader, specifically a basketball cheerleader. You know, there are stereotypes that come with that. Wanting to be the cool popular girl. I was a total loser in high school. Like I was actually like the annoying girl who would cry when she got a 95 on a test. Yeah, no one liked me. I really wanted to fit in, I really wanted to be popular, and I thought that the way to do that was to be skinny, be the skinny little cheerleader wearing her uniform at school. Started restricting, which led to a cycle of binging and restricting. Got extremely out of hand, but even more so out of hand when going into college, I found out that I made it onto the cheerleading team. So I cheered all 4 years at Northwestern, but going in as a freshman, being like, actually I'm not gonna lie, my whole college experience was riddled with dieting anxiety, but I was particularly young when I was going into college, and I was like, oh my gosh, well, I didn't fully get to be like the popular girl in high school, so I want to be able to have that experience in college. So I was like, okay, the more skinny I am, the more popular I can be. I took up running, got super into running, ended up running a half marathon when I got to college. I got really small, got really frail. I even actually broke a bone in my foot, and I'm pretty sure it's just because I was so malnourished and running so much. We'll get to that, but that is a side effect of when you are losing weight like that. I also was in the most toxic relationship of my life at the time. You know, a lot of things, they were just all coming together. And so one day, it was going into my sophomore year of college, I was scrolling on Instagram and saw this girl that I went to high school with, and she was so skinny. She was so tan. She had this glittery bikini on. She looked so cute, I thought. And I was like, what is she doing? So I went on her Instagram, started stalking all the people that she was following and posting with. And I was like, oh my gosh, she does this thing called competitive bodybuilding. Like, I'm gonna do that. And if you know anything about me, I'm extremely stubborn. And anytime I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna be the best at it. So of course, that's exactly what happened in bodybuilding. I did go to nationals. The first show I ever did, I won the whole thing. I competed for 2 years, did a total of 5 shows. I really thought I'm gonna become the skinniest in my entire life, and I did become the skinniest I had ever been in my entire life. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna achieve finally the happiness and love for myself that I've wanted. And I had never hated myself more. Literally, I hated myself. I thought I was disgusting, looked disgusting. There was nothing that felt redeemable at that time that I liked about myself, because I just was so preoccupied with my looks. Like it just realized it was never enough. It was never going to be enough, and therefore it was never about my body. It was all about my mind and how I thought about myself and how I felt about myself. Once I kind of learned all this and then did gain weight, I realized, like, oh my gosh, weight gain is actually awesome. Like, it's actually changed my life and actually made my life amazing and so much better of where it is now. So, with all of that background in mind, I want to share with you the 7 reasons why I am so glad that I gained weight. You're gonna see me kind of like looking over probably a little bit. I do have my computer up because I just wrote down everything because I want to make sure I don't miss anything at all. Reason number 1, I have my period again. I lost my period for 6 years when I was dieting. 6 whole freaking years, okay? When you lose your period, that is called amenorrhea. But when you lose your period to dieting, excessive exercise, and stress, that is called hypothalamic amenorrhea. And that is not good. Women's bodies are extremely sensitive to energy fluctuations. When you are working out crazy, and you are eating like a tiny little bird, your body senses that and it's like, oh my gosh, we need to focus on survival. So let's shut down any other bodily function that is not essential to survival. AKA, let's shut down your reproduction. So you're not gonna have a period anymore because that's not considered essential. Like, your body just wants you to be able to like get up and function at the end of the day. When I was bodybuilding, all of the coaches and fitness professionals that I surrounded myself with or was working with and trusted all told me not only was this normal, but it was totally okay. That it was like fine that this was happening. And that's actually not true. Like, it can cause like long-term problems. It can be like really bad. And like I said, I didn't have it for 6 years. That's actually insane. That's like an insane period of time. When you are diagnosed with hypothalamic amenorrhea, that is a mouthful, it only takes 3 months for you to be considered to have that. I had it for 6 years. That's insane. When you have this hypothalamic amenorrhea, oh my gosh, I am going to keep saying that and I swear to God, I'm so sorry, but you are more likely to have osteoporosis, which is the thing that breaks your bones. It doesn't actually break your bones, but it makes your bones like weaker and stuff, so you're more likely to break bones, which is why I'm like, oh my gosh, so obvious that I had weaker bones. I literally broke my foot like while just on a run one day, and also I just know the way my joints felt and like the way my bones felt. Sometimes I would be on the Stairmaster and I would do the Stairmaster for like ungodly periods of time. I would like feel the way my legs were like working together. It was so upsetting. Ugh. But thankfully, just a few months ago, I finally got my period back. Tampax is my new bestie. And I also got my first ever blood clot, which was really freaky. Wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh my God, like, am I dying? But everyone told me that no, I was okay. So thank you to my Instagram fam for helping me out there and reassuring me that I wasn't withering away and dying. And also, actually recently, a little update, I went to the gyno to get some stuff checked out. She actually let me know I'm like extremely fertile, which is kind of scary. As someone who was not looking to start a family in the immediate future, I was like, say what? I mean, it's great news. I'm really glad, because the other news would have been not what we wanted to hear, but it was a little bit scary. So do not want any baby Leighs running around within like the next year. Number 2, my hairline grew back. My hairline, when I was skinny, literally horrendous. I would get in the shower, I would have hair falling out. I know we all as girls like have hair falling out. No, like I literally would look on the side of my wall after shower and be like, that is like half of my head of hair. And then also you would see like just like patches and stuff. Even though I dye my hair blonde, I fry my hair, you could tell I curled it today. My hairline looks so much healthier than it did before. It was honestly like kind of embarrassing sometimes. Sudden weight loss and restrictive diets do lead to thinning hair. Your hair needs adequate calories and nutrients in order to grow properly, so when you're not giving that, it's super easy for your hair to not remain healthy, to fall out, to start thinning, yada yada yada. Number 3, no more brain fog. If you have never heard of brain fog, it is confusion, forgetfulness, general lack of focus, and mental clarity. It's a term that's readily thrown around in the bodybuilding community of something to expect when you're going on a diet or going into contest preparation or contest prep, and everyone's like, oh, the brain fog's starting to kick in. That's how you know if we're getting closer to show day. I was struggling so much. I was in college while I was really in the thick of my dieting and bodybuilding. I was suffering in school. forgetting assignments. I was doing poorly on assignments. Also, I literally ran 2 red lights, not like at totally separate times too, and I didn't realize it happened either time. I was in the car with my best friend. She was like, you know, you just ran that red light, right? And I was like, no. She was like, yeah, it was like fully a red light. It wasn't like it just turned red or anything. Like, it was fully a red light, and I just ran it. I didn't know. I didn't even like realize. My brain didn't even like process it. I did stuff like that all the time. Like, I was so forgetful. I would leave things everywhere, and I am not someone who's like that. I get really annoyed at people who are really forgetful and like can't keep it together, and I became the person I was like so annoyed by. I cannot reiterate enough how important it is to have a well-functioning brain, because the thing I value about myself most is my personality. I value my wit. I value my humor. I value my smarts. Like, I'm a really smart girl, and to go through a huge chunk of my life not even being able to get simple problems right on a math set is so stupid. Just to be a size small? Come on. Now I can be a size large, and I can actually be able to do quick mental maths. I can be able to say a silly joke to my friends. Like, it was literally things where like I actually got so dumb that I couldn't even give quick quips back. Well, I couldn't even be fun and bantery anymore. That's where we were at with gaining weight. I saw a girl that I've always been. Here. Honestly, I was skinny, but I was boring. It just completely changed the way I operated on a day-to-day basis. And again, similarly with your hair and how it needs the proper nutrients in order to grow, it's the same with your brain. It needs the proper nutrients in order to function. So when you're overtraining and you're malnourishing yourself, quite honestly, it creates this phenomenon called brain fog, where it's just like you are not delivering the nutrients you need in order to have the proper cognitive function. Number 4, my boobs and butt reappeared. Fun fact, your titties are primarily, or the size of your titties are primarily determined by the amount of fatty tissue that you have in your body, and then your bootay is determined by your gluteus maximus muscle, but then also another part of that is the fatty tissue that you have on top, but it varies from person to person about like what that ratio is. For this girly, my figure relied a lot on my fatty tissue. So when I lost a lot of weight, I also totally lost my figure. I didn't realize it was something I actually really missed about myself, because I don't know, I always like really took pride in having a nice juicy booty. I realized it when I was like talking to friends and I like made a joke about my butt, and then they were like, you don't have a butt. And I was like, oh, you're right. I didn't even like fully realize, you know? When you look at old photos of me, I was actually a stick. Compared to now, I look like a completely different person. It's not even just my figure per se, it's like the way my cheeks fill out. It's the way like even like your nose looks different. Everything about me just like looks different because of the way the healthy fat is distributed in my body. We're gonna reiterate, fat and weight isn't necessarily bad. It isn't bad. Gaining weight doesn't need to be a bad thing like everyone says it is. 5, I stopped isolating myself and got my friends back. Something that bodybuilding and the dieting industry really brainwashed me to think was eating for social reasons, having events centered around food, like having a 4th of July picnic, you know, a barbecue where you're eating with everyone, was a bad thing. Bodybuilding told me it was kind of like gross that we all did that, or rewarding yourself with food. Like if you did good on something, so you were like, I'm gonna buy an ice cream cone after, like that's bad and like kind of embarrassing. Instead, you should reward yourself by, I don't know, like buying a book. Which sure, okay, you could do that, but also it's totally fine to have a piece of candy after you did something a little hard, okay? That's fine. Eating food for any reason other than to be able to just like function on a day-to-day basis was bad. But that's not true. Like, you are allowed to eat for fun. You're allowed to eat mindlessly. You are allowed to overeat. You are allowed to just eat with friends because everyone else is eating. Like, that's okay. We're gonna talk about it in a little bit. This is coming from someone who has binge eating disorder. I'm a binge eater, recovering, I guess. I don't know how you necessarily say it. It isn't something that I suffer from on a daily basis at all anymore. I definitely feel like for the rest of my life, I'm going to always say I have binge eating disorder, even if it isn't something I'm actively going through. Even as a binge eater, I still say it's okay if I overeat. It's okay if I'm eating mindlessly, and it's okay if I'm at a friend's birthday and there's birthday cake and I'm only eating the birthday cake because it's the polite thing to do. Or if I'm at someone's house and they're serving food I don't like, and so I'm gonna like politely eat it still. There are reasons where it's okay to eat food that isn't necessarily necessarily fueling you to do something. This is because it is a societal norm, because you're allowed to have friends and be a normal person in society. And that was something that like bodybuilding made me. It gave me this like weird ego and isolationist thing where I wasn't like anyone else in society. I was different. I was way better than anyone else who would just want to, you know, eat with their friends. Like, oh my gosh, I would never do that. I have goals. I have nutrition standards. What is that? Come on. I would literally go out with friends, if I went out with them, big if, I would bring Tupperware to restaurants and eat my Tupperware meal. I would travel with friends and bring lunch boxes full of things. One time I ran out of food and I like made all my friends come with me to the local grocery store to buy frozen broccoli so that I could eat that while we were staying at the hotel. And that is a whole nother story. But like I said, if I went to the restaurant with them, because a lot of times my friends would invite me out, I would have like a super strict diet. So there were a few different ways that I could rationalize this. So one, it would be, okay, I'll just bring my Tupperware meal. Especially in bodybuilding, I had like specific meals I had to eat. So I'd be like, okay, I could bring the Tupperware meal. But a lot of times I wouldn't want to go because I knew that I would feel alone, like kind of a loser eating a Tupperware meal at a restaurant. I knew that it would feel weird for them. I was like, oh, I don't want to be a burden. Say I was in a period of my dieting where I didn't necessarily need to be eating a specific meal. I would then have a panic freak out because typically I would plan my day's meals days out for the whole week, and I would only have specific meals I felt comfortable eating. My lunch would never be a new sandwich that I saw at the local sandwich shop. If I was eating at the sandwich shop, it would be the one specific sandwich that I always ate every time, and I knew it came with low fat, whatever, and the bread was like hollowed out, that kind of stuff, you know? I would never just go to the same place and try something new. So even my friends were like, let's like go get salads. I'd be like, I never ate that salad before. I don't know what's in that salad. Oh my God, like I can't do it. So typically I would just say no to that stuff, isolate myself, and then eat the safe meal that I already had planned for myself in my head or that I had like waiting for me at home. Whereas now I afford myself so much more opportunity to say yes, have fun, hang out with friends, get to meet new people, get to create memories. Like I miss out on so many memories just because I refuse to eat food. And that seems like a silly reason to not have fun. Also too, I think the biggest eye-opener for me was when I stopped bodybuilding and I stopped dieting. Literally my friends started calling me Fun Leigh. They were like, oh my God, Fun Leigh is back. Like, oh my God, we have Fun Leigh. People literally were like, oh yeah, we like didn't want to hang out with you. We stopped inviting you to things. Like, we knew you were a different person. We didn't like hang out with her. And of course, my besties and like the ones who are my ride or dies like stayed with me throughout it all. You know, they were there through me, through all of it. But even then, like a lot of them like later on were like, yeah, it was like really tough being your friend like during those times. Like I loved you so much and I knew like you were gonna come out on the other end, or like you were gonna be better for it. And if we were meant to be friends, like we'd stay friends, which is ultimately what happened. Like to hear from your closest people that they were like, yeah, like, that was rough. Like, I didn't love being your friend. Being skinny is not worth that. Reason number 6, I began healing my eating disorder and body dysmorphia. Something about me is I got both of those things. Like I said earlier, I have binge eating disorder, but I also have experienced symptoms of like the different types of eating disorders. Big period of my life where I wasn't eating at all. There were periods of my life where I was purging with exercise. Also, when you are only eating specific foods, orthorexia. People with eating disorders can experience a wide range of different symptoms or different types of eating disorders, with only being diagnosed with one eating disorder. That was me. And then also body dysmorphia is when the way you perceive your body and how you see your body is all consuming, and it's the only thing that you can think about, like actively ruining how you live your life. How I showed up and presented day-to-day basis actively was ruining my life. I felt like I couldn't show my body anywhere. I thought like having a body was so embarrassing. I also too, even if I did go out, I started wearing the baggiest things ever. I had only maybe 2 or 3 pairs of pants, not even 3, 2 pairs of pants I was okay with wearing. I only had a handful of shirts, and when I did step out of that, which I would once in a blue moon, I would feel like so disgusting. Like I wanted to crawl inside myself and die. And then buying new clothes also just was, oh my gosh, the hardest thing. Even though I knew, oh, I could just buy more clothes that fit me, get things that feel more comfortable. Instead of having the handful of shirts that I want to wear, like I could have a selection. No, that was the worst idea ever. My brain couldn't even conceptualize the idea of doing something like that. In order to combat that, I checked myself into treatment. I went to outpatient treatment, I think for, I want to say like 2 to 3 months. It was honestly the best experience of my life. I had the most amazing therapist and team ever, and I did cognitive behavioral therapy, otherwise known as CBT. Actually, it changes your thinking patterns, or tries to change your thinking patterns. It is really helpful for people who distorted perception of their reality is negatively impacting their life, aka people with eating disorders and body dysmorphia. So like one of the exercises I remember that I had to do that was like really pivotal for me, I would have to carry a photo of me, of the old me, around the treatment center, and I have to go up to other patients and be like, do I look fat now compared to this photo? And based on the exercise, the other patients knew what they had to respond, and the response that they had to give me was, yeah, you got really fat. And so they would have to look me in the eyes and tell me I looked better in this photo and I look like crap now. And honestly, having them all do that made me realize, well, that's silly. That's kind of dumb. That doesn't make sense. Other exercises my therapist made me do was, there was one where she had me write down like my absolute worst case scenarios, or the worst possible thing that could ever happen to me, and she would always read it back and she would always be like, make it worse. And the big one for me was honestly just male perception and how men saw me and my body, because I definitely noticed when I was small I had way more men pursuing me, and that was something I was really into at the time. Like being single and having men like me was a large part of my identity. I do want to say though too, although I had a large quantity of men hitting on me, flirting with me, whatever, the quality of men that hit on me while I looked skinny, like they didn't care about my personality. People caring about your personality, that you want to kiss or date, very important. Very important. I think a big part of it was because while I was dieting, a big reason that I continued to diet because of that male gaze and male perception. Like I said earlier, I was in like the most toxic relationship of my life when I decided to pursue bodybuilding. I just always was obsessed with what guys thought about me. In working with my therapist, she had me write down worst case scenarios of if a guy saw you and was like, that girl's fat, and then like went and gossiped to the entire school and like told the whole Northwestern campus that you're fat and gross and you're the fat cheerleader. In writing these worst case scenarios, I kind of was like, again, this is so dumb. Why do I care this much about what a man thinks about me? Why am I so preoccupied with my weight when there are so many other things going on in my life and in the world? And also 3, imagine anyone else caring that much about your size or anything about you, really. Some random person actually cares about you that much. That actually says more about them than it does about you. I realized in a lot of these exercises, oh my gosh, this is actually like so dumb. In healing my eating disorder and body dysmorphia, I feel so much more at peace with myself. So this is not to say that I just went to treatment and then all of a sudden I was better. No, that took years. I finished outpatient treatment early 2018. It wasn't until like end of 2020 that I was like, I'm comfortable with myself. I feel good about myself, feel better about my body. Even then I still had some relapses. Even now I still have relapses about how I feel about myself, about my eating behavior. It happens. Like, that's normal and that's part of the recovery process. And number 7, I am healthy and I am happy. I am so much happier where I am now and so much healthier. Like I said, I have my period back. My bones aren't randomly breaking. My hair is doing well. I have so much more energy and life about me. My mental health is so much more balanced, not only when it comes to my ED and BD, but it's also my ego, not just so obsessive and paranoid about everything. And then my happiness is just skyrocketed. Even how I was just talking about, I had such a negative relationship with dating and what I thought about myself and my role when it came to that. And when I finally took the time to focus on building a better relationship with myself, I was able to meet the partner of my dreams and be able to have my amazing boyfriend that I have today, because I'm able to be like, okay, this is me, like things other than my body matter, things other than what I'm eating matter. I can be healthy and happy and not be obsessed with what this other person thinks of me at all times, like other than like, oh, well, do I like them? Do I want to hang out with them? Are they making me happy too? Those are questions I never ever asked myself. I always thought that I was just there to please others, to look good for others, and that's like not the case at all. So overall, weight loss does not equal health, and weight gain does not equal unhealth. Because I gained weight, I gained my whole life back. I gained a whole part of my life that I never even knew that I was missing. I'm so glad that I gained the weight. It was really hard to grapple with at first, I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't gaining the weight and I was like, yeah, this is awesome. I was so conditioned to be like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me and I am disgusting. But that's not true at all. I'm here to tell you because you might be going through this. You might think about what the future lies ahead for you, like if you are to gain weight. You might have already gone through this and still not wrapped your head around the whole thing. And I want to tell you that gaining your health is the most important thing. And if that means gaining weight, that's okay. You are allowed, and I support you, and I love you so very much. Again, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for listening to me. Thank you for supporting me. I appreciate you so much. If you are not already subscribed to me here, make sure you subscribe, and then also like this video, leave a comment, tell me how much you loved it, tell me if there were more things that you think I could share. I could do so many more story times about things that have happened in this journey, so let me know what you want to see. Also make sure that you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Leigh and Healey, and I love you so